While the Expedition 40 station crew continues its work above Earth, another crew of astronauts are taking space exploration 62 feet below the sea. The NEEMO 18 crew, Japanese astronaut Akiko Kauderer, serving as NEEMO 18 commander, and his crew, NASA astronauts Mark Vande Hei and Jeanette Epps, and European Space Agency astronaut Thomas Pesquet, are now submerged underwater for day 5 of its 9-day underwater mission at the Aquarius habitat. Earlier today, I spoke with Mark Vande Hei about the progress of his mission. So I know you're on day 5 of a 9-day mission there underwater. Tell me how it's going.
It is going great. We are having lots and lots of fun. It's an incredible opportunity to live down here, and just seeing the planet from this perspective and working with some amazing people I just couldn't ask for anything better.
Great. Well, tell me from your personal perspective, how do you feel that 9-day underwater mission is preparing you to eventually go into space?
Actually, I think I'm shocked at how well it is an analog to a space flight. We're living in a small habitat where the outside atmosphere is not something we can breathe. There's pressure differences between how outside and how we're normally used to living. And the timeline actually has been great for me. I'm getting a lot of exposure to trying to keep ahead of the timeline and adjust to changes in the plan. So it's really good for me.
That's great. You mentioned the timeline. I guess that's very good training for how the astronauts aboard the space station are working along that timeline. I've heard many times them kind of almost chasing that red line. So is it similar there?
Absolutely. Yeah. It's a lot more. It's a much funner day when you're managing to always stay ahead of the timeline, as opposed to those times when things go wrong and you have to call down and say, hey, I didn't get this done in time, or I'm missing the part to finish this. So it is challenging sometimes, but as time goes on, things get easier and easier to do, and it just gets more and more fun.
Just keep swimming. So listen,
yes, exactly.
So listen, I know yesterday, I believe, you were out for a simulated spacewalk. Is that correct?
That's correct.
So tell me about that.
So Thomas Pesquet and I were out on a spacewalk for about 3 hours. Actually, of course, we were in the water. We were simulating approaching an asteroid where we had already mounted a boom with a drill assembly, and we were working through the engineering challenges associated with the equipment development for one of those drills. So we set up the drill, we started doing some sampling, and gave the engineers designing the equipment some feedback on what we thought worked well and how we can operate it better.
Yeah. Well, so tell me, how did that compare to your training when you were out here at the Neutral Buoyancy Laboratory? Was there anything different? Any extra challenges that would be different?
So in some ways it was easier. In the Neutral Buoyancy Lab, we're inside of a pressurized suit that's 4 pounds per square inch higher inside the suit than outside the suit. Here, with a diving helmet on and wearing a wetsuit, it was actually much easier to move around because there was no pressure differential between outside and inside the wetsuit. Also, the gloves we were using here, they're normal diving gloves, so it's much easier to manipulate your fingers. You can also adjust your buoyancy yourself, much like when you're diving. So, in general, it was easier. It wasn't as high a resolution simulation.
Sure.
The visibility here yesterday was much worse, but we had diver support, just like we do in the MBL, and the equipment was similar. Communications was similar as well.
Okay. And so was it simulated much like a spacewalk as far as time-wise?
Yes, very much so. Although in the MBL we'd spend 5 to 6 hours underwater, we were only outside for about 3 hours.
Okay. And tell me some about the tools that you were using.
So there's a large boom that starts off folded up. You basically raise up one part, you have another elbow sticking out, and then you mount a drill on the other end. In an attempt to get about a 2-meter long sample from the asteroid, we drill in one section. Once that's gone down far enough, we add another section, continue drilling, and then if all goes well, and the drill doesn't stop, we add a third section and continue drilling. Once it's all done, you pull it out and you've got a core sample down the length of that hollow drill bit.
I understand you guys are also doing some other things, working with comm delays and also some human body studies. Can you tell me some of the other activities that you've been involved in?
Yeah, we've been doing a lot of studies on teamwork. This is a very confined space, much like we would be in if we were traveling further away. We're wearing sensors that help us check our proximity to each other. We've got sensors that check our heart rate, light exposure, our activity levels. Even we've been doing saliva samples to help understand what hormones we've got going on in our bodies, just to better understand the relationships among ourselves. Also, lots and lots of surveys. Any more details on that question?
Yeah, so, and then also you're talking about the teamwork and stuff. I guess you also have a you have an international crew there with Aki Hoshide and also Thomas Pesquet from the European Space Agency, much like what you would have on the space station, possibly even future missions. So how is that going for you?
Honestly, it couldn't be going better. We have been having so much fun. A lot of times we're laughing so hard we have a hard time breathing. Aki's an incredibly good commander. He's got a great sense of when to make things very directive and say, okay, let's focus on this, get it done. At the same time, he's got a very goofy side where he's willing to laugh at himself, and you know, we're just, yeah, that's not always the case, but somehow things are meshing very well for us here.
Sure. So listen, I've been following your mission along on Twitter, and I've noticed that you had posted something recently about taking a shower and looking out the window and seeing fish. Can you imagine what you might see when you're in space?
Hopefully I wouldn't see any life outside the window unless that's something we were looking for. But yeah, in fact, you can see, this is, today we've got a lot more fish outside than normal. It's like a swarm of mosquitoes, honestly. There's so much light outside the window right now. It's really amazing.
Yeah, I've noticed a lot of the photographs. There seems to always be a fish outside the window. And what's next on tap for you?
I'll come back to Houston, and the next big event for me is getting back in the NBL. And then immediately following that, the orbital spacecraft that's currently docked to the space station is going to undock, so I'll work as a Capcom for that mission.
Wonderful. Well, Mark, it was very good talking with you today. Thanks for joining us, and best of luck to you and the crew for the rest of this mission.
Thanks a lot. It was really nice talking to you too, Amiko.
Great.
Here's a diver.